Now, the structure of a report, coming to reports. Now you have done the hypothesis, you've analyzed, and you've come to a decision. Now you have to put forth, you have to give that decision to your higher ups. So this is how it happens in companies as well. When you are trying to portray something, or you want to put into, you want to follow something, you need to share something. What you're doing is, you're not just answering, telling them, see, I've done my MBA, so that's the reason I'm telling you to do this, or this is good. I know that this is the right thing. Many people have done this, or that company has followed the same thing, so we too have to do. No, this is not how decisions are made anymore. You have to give some kind of an authentic data to prove what you're saying is correct. Only then people are going to listen to you. So then how do you present it? You just can't, roughly, like how when you're helping your friends, when you're teaching your friends, you're not doing it like the lecturer would go to what is an introduction, and you don't do that. How do you go about it? You would speak to your friend in a very colloquial way and make them understand. You'll scribble on the your notebook and teach them, right? So that is an informal way. But when you're doing a research, you can't use that informal way. There is a process that you have to follow, and put in information in a particular flow, and that is how you present it to whoever person you need to give the outcome of your study. And this is known as a report of your research study. So what's the structure of a research study? That is what is mentioned here. Okay, so broad division, it is divided into 3 sections. Preliminary pages. Okay, first is the preliminary page, then the body of the report, and thirdly, supplementary page. Okay, I just giving you a, see again, sometimes each university will have its own format. You need to follow that. Okay, it's not that what I'm mentioning need not be the same. It might be the same, it might be different as well. You need to follow the guidelines. If you are wanting to publish a paper, the journal will have its own guidelines which you have to follow, and then put your paper according to that style, and then share it, send it for publication. Okay. Similarly, if it is your project report, your university or your college will have its own format which you need to follow. Okay, please keep in mind. But overall, generally, this is the format. So broadly, it is divided into 3 sections. A report is divided into 3 sections: the preliminary page, the body of the report, and the supplementary page. Now, coming to the preliminary page, it consists of these sections: title page, table of contents, your abstracts, your synopsis, your under the table, even your contents, your tables. Okay. Table number, your chart number, and maybe even your certification. And supposing it's a funded project, then you're acknowledging the person who has funded the project. If it's a college project, then declaration that you are a student of the college, acknowledgement, so on. Okay, all that. And this is the contents which I put. Okay, if you know the section, then obviously you know what you put in those pages. Then the second is the body of the report. So in the body, firstly, you're giving a introduction about your topic, how it is related, what sector it comes under, and then you're also giving a brief about the literature review that you did, you studied. In VTU, it is 20 literature review that they need to do. I do not know about your university. So, and then based on that, the literature review, they need to come out with, brief outcomes of those study, and then how they've identified the research design, the research gap. So that comes under the introduction, followed by the methodology. So body of the report is further divided into that. Introduction, the methodology, results, and discussion. So methodology being adopted. Now I just showed you one like this. This is the methodology. Okay, so you're showing the methodology, and then the conclusion and recommendations that you suggest based on the outcome. After doing the analysis, you get an outcome, your findings that you're doing. So this is the body of the report. And then the supplementary pages. The supplementary pages include the references or bibliography that you have referred, the details a reference is the details of the literature review that you have studied. Why do you give references? That is to acknowledge the authors whose study you have taken to understand something. One. Secondly, if somebody is reading your paper, somebody is interested to know more, or they prefer to do the same study, they want to do it in a higher way, or maybe they want to do a similar study in some other part of the country. They will know, they can refer if they want to know more about it. Maybe your reference can be a link for them to identify which of those studies that you follow to get more ideas, for them also to understand what you have read and how you have come to that conclusion. So for that you require references. Next is the outcome of the project. Here the outcome is not the recommendations or the conclusions of the interpretation of your chapters or your study. Here it means if you have done some publication, or if you have seen some a topic in the newspaper which is similar to the study that you're doing, then you may take that clipping of that newspaper and then put it in the report. So this is always done in the supplementary pages. And maybe some other details, like maybe your certificates, you have presented a paper in a conference, and that conference certificate, you can put it in the appendix or in the supplementary pages. So this is basically a simplest way of understanding how the structure of the report is prepared. And these are three basic types of reports. Popular report, that means the regular general report, the interim report, and an oral presentation. A popular report follows the same method that you would have followed for your according to what I discussed yesterday with one of the participants. She told me that she's in the 4th semester and she's completed with the project study. So here this project study is about that's a popular report, means what everybody follows, the same thing. Even in PhD it is almost the same, maybe a few changes. The study will be more in depth because you're taking more time to do the study. Okay. The second is an interim report. What's an interim report? It is between you start the project study, or you start your study, and before the final conclusion, in between you're giving a report. Usually the interim report is not given to when you're doing a job and all that. It's not that it is not there, but more so when it is a funded project. Maybe even when you're working, your boss has every right to know they're funding you to do the project, and they have salary, they're paying you the salary. So they would definitely want to know what you're doing and how you came up with the conclusion, and or at what stage are you in your research. They would want to know. So that is an interim report. Usually when it is a funded report, employee, it is salaries, that is they're paying us, so we every time they ask us updates, we need to give them, right? So that is an interim report. Second interim report is when I would have taken a bank loan, or somebody has lent me some money to do a project, and I have to report to them and tell them at what stage I am, or when they inquire, it is my duty to tell them, irrespective of whether they are giving me or not, or asking me or not. But even if they ask me, if I'm not doing it by myself and I'm waiting for them to ask, a report which is done before the final report is called as an interim report. Okay. And the last one is the oral presentation. That's your presentation, where you do a PPT, and then you're not actually showing your paper, your book, but you're making a presentation. Okay. So that is an oral presentation. Then style of writing. Try to make it always simple, just like your questionnaire, as I mentioned. Try to make it simple. Be very precise. Use accurate presentations. Use a logical sequence. Don't jump. Say, say for example, your questionnaire. You start with what is your name, and then secondly ask, do you buy products online? Then next question is, what is your income? See, it's a jumble of it'll confuse the respondent. He may not answer, and then your this one might just go to waste. So that should not happen. Always have a logical sequence. Secondly, it not only makes it pleasurable to read the article or your report, because it's in a proper sequence. It does not confuse the reader. So hence it should be in a proper sequence. And proper drafting, meaning that you use English which has less grammatical errors, because that also is very important for this. And then now coming to citation and referencing techniques. I said I'll be doing this because that was mentioned according to the syllabus. It was mentioned somewhere else. And yesterday I said that when I come to the report writing, I'll tell you about citations. So citations and referencing techniques, there are several types of techniques available which we need to follow. Just like I told you, the guidelines that you need to follow for making a report as per the journal, or maybe as per the your college, university. Similarly, for referencing also, there's a particular style. The reason why they have made it the APA style, the full form of APA style, which is the most common, followed by the MLA and the Chicago style. So the APA style was incepted by the American Psychological Association. So APA, that's the full form. Okay. So this they came up with a concept saying that when people are giving reference, each one is giving it in their own way. So they said that it should be in a uniform manner, because the whole project report is done with so much of effort. A person who wants to go through more about it and they're looking at the literature review, they should find it easy to identify. So hence they came up with a particular method. And APA style is like this. It starts with the name, then the year when it was published, the title of the article, the journal where it was published, the volume number, the issue number, then the page, from which page 25 to 29, something like that. Okay, which page it is there in the journal, and then maybe the DOI, or maybe the link to that article. In case I find it interesting, I can just, as a reader, I can click that. So this gives a very clear, it makes it more interesting for the reader to go through the article. It is not confusing, and it is put in a proper way. Just like when you go to somebody invites you for dinner, they don't give you pan first, and then, because you use pan for digestion, so they don't give you pan first, then give you water, then after that they give you juice, then they give you starter, then suddenly they go to the main course meal. No, that's not a proper way, right? So similarly, it confuses the person, and maybe you may have an upset tummy also, and you will not enjoy the food. Though the person has done it with so much of affection, you will not enjoy it, because it is not served in a proper manner. So what should you do? You should similarly, when you're just as you're serving in a proper way, it is also important that your report is also in a proper manner, is placed in a proper manner, proper flow. And the flow is like this: you have the introduction, you have the review of literature, the research gap, then you do the study, that is your research methodology, that is the I showed you the table, that is the kind of sampling style, sampling technique, number of samples that you have chosen, then the kind of test that you wish to do. So all that, that is the next section. After that comes the analysis and interpretation, and then the last one is the section of a report is the referencing. Okay, so this is the format that you're doing. But the referencing can have a particular technique. Similarly, some journals might say, when you're sending a text, have 1 inch space on all sides and 1.5 inch spacing, use only Times New Roman, and let it be, the text should be justified. Or they may say the text should be left justified, or text should be right justified. Some journals even ask for center justification as well. Okay, this is to identify from other journals. They're coming up with their own step. So these styles of interpreting and writing the name of the person. So one more thing to remember is, now my name is Reena Williams. So if you want to put my article in the APA style, you won't write Reena Williams 2025. You will put it as Williams. So usually the surname comes first, Williams, comma Reena, and in brackets you'll write the year. When was my article published? 2025. Then put it as 2025. Next is, what is the name of the article? A study on the choice of recently I did that study on coming home to spices. That was the title, to know the choice of NRIs towards Indian spices, because now they are nutri spices. People are looking at different ways of consuming spices, and the study says that majority do not prefer, very few people prefer the whole spices that we use in India. There they prefer the tablet form, or they prefer the syrups, or something which is a mixture type, where you have that biryani mix or pulao mix, or they prefer that rather than having the whole spices that we generally use in India. Okay, maybe because of lack of availability, or the expensive, it is too expensive probably. Okay, all are working, so they don't have time. When you say abroad, most of them go for work. The reason why they go stay so far is because of employment reasons or something like that. So that was the study. So in that case, I told you, they had asked for APA style only, but there are other styles as well. The other one is called as the MLA style, Modern Language Association. That also has its own format. So, or the Chicago style, or the Arabian style, or the IEEE style, or the Vancouver style, Harvard style. These are all different kinds of styles that you use. The next is citation. Yeah. Now, this is the example that I was telling you about. If it reference with a book with a single author, see, it is Saijal S. So his name was actually S. Saijal. So you put it as Saijal S. What is 1956? That is the year in which this particular book was published. We mentioned it as book, right? So that's why. What is the title of the book? Non-Parametric Statistics for Behavioral Science. And it was published where? Okay, this is the title. Next is full stop, and then you write New York, McGraw-Hill. So that is where the publication happened. And page number 342, ISBN number so and so. Okay, so like this you have for books with multiple authors, or corporate association. All these things come out of that. And you have a different style when you're referencing through a journal article, or a thesis dissertation, or even a TV discussion on TV. Say, let us say NDTV or CNN. There's some discussion happening and it is related to your study, and you've collected the data from there. You listen to that and you've collected some information. Then you have to source it. When you give a source to it, that is, you're justifying or acknowledging, not justifying, you're acknowledging the contribution of the author or the person who's speaking about it. It's his or her thought which you're using. So you have to acknowledge it. So when you're acknowledging this, each one will have a different format which you need to follow. And it's not, again, there's nothing to be worried about as such, because when you're talking about these styles, you can, if you have Zotero or Mendeley, it will do the referencing very easily for you. You don't have to sit and do it. But as I said, if you know the format, you can, that again, you can get it on the internet, you can get it on Google as well. If you know that, you'll know whether in case there is a mistake happening through AI, you will know how to correct it immediately. So simple. You have a support. That is what I'm trying to share. The next is Introduction to Statistical Tools. That is SPSS, and just sharing a few here, because these are ones which we are using now. So Introduction to Statistical Tools, SPSS. I don't know why this is, it goes a little more further to be better. Yeah. So introduction to statistical tools, SPSS, Excel, R, Python, Tableau, Power BI. Now when it comes to Tableau and Power BI, they are more descriptive or diagrammatic in nature. It's good for showing diagrams. I'm sure what I'm telling, and right now maybe Tableau is improving to become something else, or Power BI is becoming something else. So I'm just talking about what it is at present. What is going to happen in future, that nobody can predict. Of course, it's technology is improving to such an extent that I told you, from industry 4.0 we have just touched 5.0. That's what many researchers are saying. We are already entered into industry 6.0. So see the way in which the technology is improving. Okay, so here I just put in how you can use, because they just mentioned about introduction to statistical tools. I don't have a paid version of SPSS now. It's IBM, so it doesn't make any sense showing it to you. Excel you would have seen. The others, it's especially Tableau and Power BI, they use it for sorry, for visualization purposes. You can do wonderful visualization on both. So Tableau and Power BI are both powerful business intelligence BI tools used for data visualization, as I told you just now, analysis and reporting. SPSS, that is statistical package for the social sciences, now known as IBM's SPSS Statistics, is a software platform used for statistical analysis and data management, particularly in social sciences and related fields. R is an open source programming language that statisticians and education institutions frequently use because it can swiftly and easily carry out complex statistical calculation. Python is arguably the most popular language among data scientists, thanks largely to the versatility offered through vast library systems. So Python is um, uh, our students are learning Python programming, and what I mean to say is not that only our students are learning. Because a few decades ago, all this was machine learning, design thinking. I teach design thinking, and these were basically engineering subjects. But now it's becoming interdepartmental, and it is becoming important. So I'm sure if you're studying business analytics, you would have part of that would of your learning would involve all these things. The next is the ethical considerations in research. What is ethical considerations? Whenever you're doing anything, see what do all parents say? They tell us, be honest, do things, help people, be truthful, and all. This is what we are taught and we are brought up, right? All your parents will definitely tell you all that. So these are coming up. They are in helping us imbibe certain positive things so that we can become better human beings, right? So similarly, when it comes to research, there are some ethical considerations that you need to follow and maintain so that your research is done in the most ethical manner. So what are the concepts under that? I'll just enlarge this again so that it is easier. Yeah, see here also I have included the name from which I have taken the image. So what are the ethical considerations? Simultaneous submissions, 2 or 3 people giving the same submission, that means you're copying together, or no informed consent. You have taken some information from someone without asking them, can I use it? Without that. Okay, so without informed consent, that is also unethical. It is something like, your friend has gone to the restroom and you're using her phone, you're using a book, you're using her items. This is, you can't do it. He or she, whatever, I'm just mentioning. So without informed consent, without you asking permission, you should not be using. So that is the meaning of no informed content. The next is duplicate submission, similar to this simultaneous submission. Then salami slicing, that is you're taking out the best from some paper and then making it your own. You are putting it in a new version. You're paraphrasing. What is paraphrasing? Now, supposing ethical considerations in research is the heading, right, that you see on your screen. If I put it as being more forthright and ethical in while doing research. It's the same wordings but in a different pattern. This is paraphrasing. So that is one. No permission for data information usage, copyright infringement, image manipulation, data fabrication, plagiarism, data falsification, authorship issues, a conflict of interest. All these things are, if you don't take care of them, then it becomes an ethical issue in research. And just like generally when we are talking or we are behaving in society, we have to ensure we are part of society, so we need to follow some rules and regulations. Otherwise we can be sent out somewhere, either put in jail or asked to leave that particular place. Similarly, in research as well, we need to follow ethical considerations so that readers will start valuing the works that we do, and it gets authenticated. And we are almost in the end. The next is again, ethical principles. I'm not going through that again. You understand that we need to be responsible, we need to be honest, we have to, when we collect data from a respondent, it is our duty. They would have said, see, I'm just sharing it with you, please don't make it publicize it. We should respect that. Okay, confidentiality. Even if they don't tell us not to send, it is our duty to ensure that it is not shared easily, and it is unethical. Okay, so this is it. Yeah. Next is avoiding plagiarism. How do we avoid? I think you know what is plagiarism. So let us go to how do you avoid plagiarism. There are some 5 easy steps. One is accurately write down details of authors when taking notes. That is, your reference should match. Always ensure that you give credit to those authors whom you whose study or your books or the books you are reading. Secondly, paraphrase carefully. Just don't use AI to see when you're doing plagiarism test. You also nowadays you also have to do AI test to find out how much of the content in your article has been induced or copied from artificial intelligence. That is also there. So paraphrase carefully, because when you paraphrase, what is the meaning of paraphrasing is you're giving the justification, but you're putting it in your own words. You're saying that I've copied it, I've taken this, not copied, this idea was written by one XYZ author, and I am taking that as part of my study. If I'm mentioning in that way, then the way I put that that finding of that study into my study, to say that I have taken it from this XYZ person, I should not paraphrase it in such a way that the meaning itself changes. It affects that author as well. Okay, so paraphrase carefully, then be accurate with citations and quotes. Don't put your own quote, or quote means what they mentioned, you put it in inverted commas, no, that quote. Don't put your own and then say that you have taken it from somewhere. That is wrong. Then step 4 is check your reference list is full and complete. And lastly, proofread your work for citation referencing errors. Always, once you do, you always reread, isn't it? So that is how you can avoid plagiarism. So yeah, this is just the title that I have mentioned. So this ends the study. I hope you found it interesting. I think I am taken a little bit of your time. I'm so sorry about it. But if you have any questions to ask me, you can always ask. Any doubts? Any clarifications required? I understand it is a whole lot of information all put together. I try to make it as simple and easy for you to follow, so that no, I understand you are all young researchers, not just by age but also through experience, because you have just started. So I try to put in as simple as possible, and I hope even if one of you take it forward and maybe publish your research study, I think that will make me happy. And I think the effort of Bolnath sir to ensure that knowledge is spread across, gets the objective gets fulfilled if even if one of you, after this particular, not only this, any thing that you register for and listen and follow, if you're able to take it forward, that is the best thing that can happen. So anyways, thank you so much. Thank you all for your patient listening, and I wish you all the very best in your career. Good night.
Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful sessions. Both the
Thank you,
days,
sir.
it was very extensive, but it was very effective.
Oh,
So we
thank you,
have
sir.
learned a lot of, we got clarity on research methodology on different topics. And you have touched upon almost all the areas
Yes.
in research methodology. That's something in a very brief, but in a simple manner.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure that students are benefited out of it. And on behalf of MTC Global family, we extend our heartfelt thanks to ma'am and all the participants. Thank you, ma'am, once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, and good night.
Good night,
Good
ma'am.
night,
Good night.
everyone, and all the very best to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.